What's going on? Back again. Operation Dart in full effect. Just getting done. Doing a little mocking up out here. Been working on trying to get my engine lined up in this engine bay. YouTube doesn't give you a whole lot of help. So you have to do a lot of measuring and figuring out for yourself when it comes to this. For anybody who may want to know, who may want an idea as to what has to be done in this situation, I changed my K-member. In changing the K-member, I don't have normal motor mounts. So I went with an engine plate. I ordered this engine plate out of Chassis Engineering, and I put this engine plate in here, having to center this engine in this bay. But actually, the engine isn't centered. The engine is offset, because with these A bodies, being a 65 Dodge Dart A body, it has an offset. The drive shaft tunnel is not directly down the center of the vehicle. They put an offset in these vehicles for a specific reason, because of trying to get clearance for the steering box and a few other oddball reasons, but that's why they do it. So in doing that, I also had to offset this engine to get it lined up in this engine compartment. If you look at it, the engine is more to the left than it is to the right, and that's because it has an offset. The crank is not directly in the center with the K-member because of your offset. Now this offset, you really don't know what it is, because nobody wants to tell you anything. I looked and looked, couldn't find it anywhere. But I happened to figure out what the offset was. It's the same as the offset for the rear end that I put in. The rear end it's going to be an 8 3/4 rear end. I was going to go with a Dana, but not being necessary. Don't think we're going to break any of these Moser axles I have. We're going to go with an 8 3/4. We had to take out my mock-up rear end and put in the actual rear end that I'm going to use. I do have to do some modifications, but I needed to put the actual rear end that I'm going to use in here to make sure I got the right dimensions, because I will be removing some material. Not saying that I'm going to remove it from right here, but it will be getting removed from somewhere in this housing. I have to remove a certain amount to the point where from my leaf spring to my flange is going to be 3 3/8 inch in diameter, or in length on both sides. So that will get me allowance for the clearance of my wheels in the fender well. But that is what we're going to be working with. We're going to be working with monoleaf and Caltrex setup. Alright, so we will be going with an 8 3/4 rear end. Alright, so we found the offset to that. I looked and looked and looked trying to find the offset for an 8 3/4 rear end. But after doing a whole lot of measuring, a whole lot of figuring, jotting a whole lot of stuff down on paper, I will be documenting all this stuff that I'm doing to this car as I'm going along, just in case somebody else wants to do the same thing. I'll have some information for them. But I did find out that it is 1 1/4 inch offset. So that's what we had to do. We had to offset everything 1 1/4 from inside frame rail, take that dimension, divide it by half, subtract your 1 1/4 inch. There's your dimension from here to the center of your crank. if you were to add 1.25 inches, that would be the dimension from here to the center of your crank. So my dimensions was 12. What was that? It was from here to the center. It was actually 12.9375. From this inside rail to the center, it was 15.4375. So I had an offset of 1.25 inches, which gave me my dimensions from inside the frame. Same thing with the rear end. That's where I got my measurement from, the rear end. So it's 1.25 inches, not 1 3/8 inches. I've seen some people posting 1 3/8 inches. No, it's not. Not for this, it's not. For something else, it might be. But I know for the 65 Dodge Dart, it is not 1 3/8 inches. That 125 thousandths, it can make a big difference for some, especially when you're dealing with pinion angle, because you definitely have to calculate all that into play if you're trying to keep from vibrating like crazy when you get up to a certain speed. I went and ran my string directly through the crank, the center, all the way down through the transmission. You can see it all the way down through the transmission back to the rear axle. Where I'm trying to do something with one hand ain't the easiest. So that's how we lined up our engine with our rear end straight through the crank. Want everything in line. So that's what we've been working with, mocking up an engine plate, trying to get it done. We're gonna finish it up. I'll take it in and I'll do a little bit of sanding on the sharp edge. I used a cut-off wheel to cut this down to this size, because when I got it, it was a long piece of rectangle aluminum. This is 1/4 inch thick aluminum. So I had to cut it size, matched it out on each side for this, and also had to put the angle on it because, like I said, it was one long big piece of rectangle. I wanted to make it look halfway decent up in here. Got my engine mounts made as well. I got the holes in here. I need to drill the holes through here, through the plate, both sides. And I'll clean this up. I will sand that and smooth it out and prime that up before I go too much further. But we're coming right along with Operation Dart. Just trying to keep you informed as to what we got going on. Some may be wondering, yeah, well, is it level? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're going across. Can you see that bubble? Bubble in the middle. You say, well, that's just one spot. Well, we can go here if you want. We can go here and see what we got going on. What we see? Bubble in the middle. Well, what about how it lays long way? Let's turn it down and let's see what we got going on here. Can we see anything? It's hard for me to see upside down. Okay, right there. Bubble in the middle. Bubble in the middle. And all the way back. Bubble is in the middle. So I think we're pretty level. We don't have to worry about motor not sitting in there level. It is definitely going to be level. So we'll come back at you Got our engine plate mocked up, ready to bolt in. So now we'll move on back to the rear end. That's my mock-up rear end that I had in here. See how short it is? I cut it. Got my dimensions. Got my dimensions from here, flange, this flange to this flange, 65 dart. You have a 45-inch dimension. From flange to flange, 45-inch dimension. If anybody wants to cut an 8 3/4 rear end, that's the dimension you're going to go with. If you box in for your leaf springs, you take the old leaf springs out and you get your boxes, you put those in, that's what your dimension is going to be for 8 3/4 rear end. And I'd reckon that'd be the same thing for a Dana as well if you were just going to mini tub it like I did. Didn't want to get outrageous and go big wheel. Didn't want to go big tire. You know, I'd mess around and everybody be wanting to race me if I went big tire. But we just messing around. But that's what we got going on. And we're going to go from there. We're going to leave it on that note. And we'll come back a little later on. Operation Dirt. Engine plate action. Coming right along. All right. Get back with you. Peace out.